morning, MML. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute. If you could grab a cup of coffee, grab something to eat if you would like, and let's get a seat. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get things. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hi, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Everyone. Good morning, everyone. There we go. Thanks, everyone. Please grab a cup of coffee, grab a bagel, pastry, that last business card, and let's all take a seat, please. How's everyone doing today? Great. It's a beautiful Friday morning, a little chilly. All right, while we're wrapping up here in the back, we're going to go ahead and introduce our sponsors. Let's see, Mike from Lapata, if you could raise your hand back there. Let's see, Parkside. I don't think Parkside was able to make it this morning. Oh yeah, here we are from Parkside. Great, thanks guys. No one mentioned he wasn't able to make it. Atomic Revenues. Our Lauren, are you guys here today? And then Jason is here from Swift Systems. Tom from Black Twig, where you at, buddy? Over here. Jamie from CNBC, I saw you earlier. Yeah, here's Jamie. And then Paul from Pulsinelli. I believe Paul was not able to make it today. So if we could, let's give our sponsors a round of applause, please. There's a table in the back of the room with some sponsor information. Without the sponsors, we all wouldn't be here this morning. So the cup of coffee, the bottle of water, the bagel, the room, the presentation, everything. all comes because of our sponsors. So special thanks to all of them. So this morning we have Matt Minetti from the Conflux here to talk to us for a couple minutes. The Conflux, I'll let Matt get into it, but it's a co-learning center for the manufacturing and distribution industry. So Matt's going to tell us a little bit about it.
All right, thank you, Tom. Thank you so much to MML and the sponsors for having me talk a little bit this morning before we hear from our esteemed speakers. How many people have been down to the Conflux for an event? Or okay, good number of you. That's great. So we had a couple of open houses here in the last couple of weeks. If you saw in the news, we had the mayor and a number of civic leaders down for ribbon cutting on Monday. It was the largest pair of scissors I've ever purchased. It is in fact a weapon. I'm not sure where we're going to store that, but so it's been a busy week at the Conflux. But like Tom mentioned, we are the nation's first dedicated community and shared workspace for manufacturing distribution companies here in the St. Louis region. We're located down in the Carondelet neighborhood, so down here, if anybody are your gambling types, we're near the River City Casino down there at I-55 in Germania, in a really awesome district. It's a district defined by a lot of industry there. It's an area that we really enjoy being in, and we're located in a historic school, actually the oldest St. Louis, still standing St. Louis public school in the region. So that's a really cool space that we're in. But what do we offer? So we have a shared workspace. We've got coffee, beer, different amenities that you would expect in some sort of a shared workspace like a T-Rex or a Cortex, but really is much more the amenities. It's the community there. So we're looking for, just like the community here at MML, for people to come by, stop by if they want to grab a cup of coffee. We have programming. We actually had our first roundtable on Wednesday talking about many of the hiring challenges that we know a number of you are going through. So we had 17 individuals. We had plant managers, HR representatives, CEOs, talking about what's working, what's not working in terms of hiring and retaining talent. So we had a really rich conversation, and we hope that we can have more and more of those as people are more comfortable getting in person, and as we start getting up and running. So I do have to run to another meeting at 8:30. I'd love to stay and hear Stan talk, but I have some information in the back, also near the sponsor information. We are looking for founding members to be a part of that community. They will be instrumental in shaping the programming, the amenities that we're looking to add to the space, and really be that kind of core group in which we can kind of build that rich network out of. So if you're interested, or I know a number of you work with manufacturing and distribution companies, I'd love to talk to them. And really just the best way that I can explain the value is to have them down in the space, because it's really incredible. So thanks to Tom and Jason for having me share a little bit of time this morning, take a little bit of your time this morning to tell you about this great resource for the industry. So like I said, more information, some flyers in the back, but I'd love to have you down for a tour someday. Thanks.
Yeah, and along with Matt, if any of you know Derek Weber or Brandon Dempsey, the three of them are the impetus behind the whole thing. So they've got a really incredible thing going down there. So definitely go down and check it out. It's a beautiful building. They put a lot of money into rehabbing it and had to keep it all historic and everything, but just really a great environment for lots of discussions and lots of opportunity for manufacturers and industrial workers to learn. So now on with the program. Former Rankin President and CEO Stan Shoun brings a background of military service, a degree in aeronautical engineering, and a long career in technical education to his position. Embarking on a second career in education after retiring from the U.S. Navy in 1996, Shoun served most recently as the Vice President of Workforce Development and Continuing Education at Central Virginia Community College in Lynchburg, Virginia, and also served as that college's Dean of Math, Science, and Engineering. Shoun holds a Master's of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School and a Bachelor of Science degree cum laude from East Tennessee State University, where he majored in political science, public administration, and education. He is also a graduate of the Naval War College, where he studied political science and international affairs. MML and Rankin have always had a great relationship, so we're really proud to welcome Stan back to the stage. Thanks.
Well, thanks for having me again, folks. If you haven't been on the circuit, I've been here before, so a lot of you have heard me and know what we do and that type of stuff, but a lot of things have changed, as you well know, across the board. One of the things that I've done in my educational career is I was a teacher. They let me teach a little bit. I still do it. Matter of fact, a little engineering, a little bit of mathematics, that type of stuff. So one of the first things I always do when I start a new class is I give a pop quiz. I want to know where everybody's at relative to where we're going to go in the class. So y'all get a pop quiz. First, by the way, you don't have to answer out loud. Just kind of in your head. Do you have sufficient number of workers now and for the future? I will tell you right now, there's 11 million unfilled jobs in the United States. And I got to back up because if I get too far forward, it doesn't pick up. So if you have enough, God bless you. You're well ahead of the ball game. Second question, are you satisfied with the skills your new employees are bringing to the table? I can tell you that 90% of the National Association of Manufacturing members say no. So again, if you've got it, you're well ahead of the ballgame. Last but not least, what are you doing differently now than you were doing 5 years ago to find your workforce? And I'll give you a hint here. Doing more isn't doing different. If you're going to more job fairs, or if you're going to more graduations, or if you're just pumping more into your mass media, that's not different. So the bottom line is this, guys, and this is one of my favorite quotes. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's typically where we're at in a lot of cases, especially in education and in the interim with manufacturing. We're still doing the same thing, maybe putting more money, more effort into it, but we're still getting the same results. I can tell you it's a different world out there. You guys know it's a different world out there. And I tell every manufacturer, every industry that I deal with, and I deal with a lot of them on a daily basis, I tell them all, if you think that you're going to go to a job fair, and I'll figure this out here in a minute, it's proximity. If you're going to go to a job fair, you're going to get 50 applications, you're going to go through and you're going to find the best 3 or 4, and you're going to hire them, you're going to keep them for 25, 30, 40 years. Get over it. Most individuals today, the millennium generation, 32 jobs in their lifetime. That's not what the boomers did. The boomers, we got a job and we stayed forever. It's not going to happen. This turnover thing is going to be part of the new norm for you all. So let's talk a little bit about the future workforce. Let me tell you some things that I know for a fact. And again, this isn't conjecture. This is truism across the board. There are actually more jobs than there are people right now. It was kind of funny. I had the governor out actually cutting a ribbon on a new building last Tuesday. And one of his comments were, and it stuck. He said, hey, you want the good news? The good news is there's only 15,000 unemployed people in the state of Missouri right now. And it says the bad news is there's 175,000 posted jobs. Do the math, guys. It doesn't look good overall. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that if you're looking at the sheer number of it, and again, I'm a mathematician. If you're looking at the sheer number of it, the boomers are trying to get out. And I know everybody says the pandemic caused this. No, it didn't. It accelerated it, but it didn't cause it. This has been coming for decades. The boomers are getting old. We want to retire. And when we go, that's 40% of your workforce. As a matter of fact, look around as you go out into the economy right now. Who's holding down the fort? It's the old guys. It's us old folk. We're the ones that are doing most of the labor and work right now. As a matter of fact, average age, depending upon which sector you're in, 55 to 58 years old. That doesn't bode well, especially if you look what's back behind us, because I got to also tell you, statistically, there are actually less kids going into school now, at the school-age kids. So if your front end is shrinking and your back end is shrinking, the middle don't look good. And that's a fact across the board. I love this one because not only are we shrinking on both ends of the spectrum, we're also kind of misaligned and mismatched. This is actually information on St. Louis area, and again, but it applies pretty much across the board for the nation as far as we're concerned. If you take a look at it, what it shows you is this: there's an overabundance or need for low skilled, and there's also the idea of If you look at it, there's an overabundance of four-year college degree people out there that we really don't have much fit for. The real true need, and I keep saying this, and I've said this for 10 years, and a lot of you have heard me for 10 years. The number one impediment to economic growth for this nation is a lack of a skilled, trained workforce. I will almost guarantee 100% of you in this audience would love to bring in more work, could bring in more work. The work's there. What you don't have is the workforce to guarantee that that work's going to be done. And until we grasp that, until we kind of realign, because in the old days, the whole idea, especially for economic development, was let's build businesses so we can have more jobs. We don't need more jobs. What we need is a better workforce to do the jobs that we got now. That's how we improve the economy overall, and that's what we need to refocus on and have better results across the board. Not only is the numbers thing, in the sheer demographics, but it's also playing in technology. As most of you in this audience, you're into technology, and you should be, because that's the future. Technology right now is doubling or basically obsoleting itself, especially in the IT world, about every 2 years, 2 to 3 years. What that means is not only do you have to find a new workforce to basically replace the workforce that is leaving, but you guys have also got to refocus on retraining your workforce every 2 to 3 years because of the technologies that are basically coming about. This is a scary thought, especially when you think that 90% of the jobs out there right now are going to require some type of education beyond high school. High school is not the old thing that it used to be. For the boomers, if you had a high school diploma, you could probably go get a job and have a career, have a family, and do pretty well, be middle class. That's no longer true. We've got to think beyond that. Now, thinking beyond that, I will also tell you this, and this is one of the things we were talking about right before we started this. 75% of the kids in school, in secondary school, are not going to go on to a 4-year degree. That is not a bad statement. That's nothing, condemnation for these kids. The fact that 75% of them are not going to go on is simply a reflection of the demographics that are needed within the industries and businesses that are out there. It's not a condemnation that the kids are not going to be successful. But yet everything that we do, especially in education, is aimed to get these kids to that 4-year degree. And if they don't get that 4-year degree, we somehow condemn them and say that they didn't make it in the world. The bottom line is the world is changing, and that middle skill is still the primary driver for industry and the economics across the board. So let's see what else we got here. A shameful plug for Rankin. If you don't know Rankin, we are a not-for-profit, fully accredited to a 4-year degree granting institution. We're about 115 years old. We've been doing this for a while. We pride ourselves on placing our kids. 96% of our kids are placed within 6 months of graduation. I'm graduating 81% of our kids. What makes us different in a lot of senses is that we have 3 components to our educational philosophy. One is we do technical education. That's who we are. That's who we've been for the last 100 years or so. We also do general education because we give accredited degrees. Y'all need the soft skills as hard as the hard skills. So, communication is very important. IT is very important. These are things that are all very important to almost every one of the career pathways. But the other one is we do a work ethic thing. If you've never been to my campus, I invite you to come out. A little bit different. My kids are graded every day on 5 core components of work ethic. It's, professionalism. It's their appearance. It's respect for authority. It's the things that you guys want. And if the kids don't pass the work ethic grade, they don't graduate. It's actually on their transcripts. That is the number one element that industry and business want, but it's one of the things that we as education have shied away from because it's too hard. Educational philosophy, which makes it a little bit different again, I don't give my kids what they want. I give them what they need. That's a tremendous difference from when you're looking at, customer service, so to speak. One of the unique things about Rankin is if you ask my senior staff who our customer is, and if you ask my peers who their customer is, they would tell you that it's the students. I don't think it is. The end user is always the customer. You all sitting out there are my customers. So if I'm producing something that you don't want, then I'm probably not doing a good job. I'm pretty good friends with Dennis Muhlenberger, who is the ex-CEO of Boeing. And we were joking around one day, and he said to me, and we were talking about engineer skills, I happen to be one. And he goes, yeah, he says, we get these engineers out of these tech, out of these universities, and it takes us 2 or 3 years to unlearn them. There's something wrong with that statement. If I got to unlearn somebody that just came out of college for a position, I'm probably not educating them for that position. And so we've got to be very careful about who and what education has been designed for and should be doing for you guys as an industry. Last but not least, if you take a look at what we pride ourselves on, very rarely do we talk about graduation. We talk about employment. That's the number one thing. If I'm not producing young people that are employable and needed, then I'm not doing my job. We were talking about, a lot of you have been to my job fairs. We have 2 job fairs a year at my campus, one in the fall, one in the spring. We just had my fall job fair 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I had 400 companies at my job fair. And we're not talking virtual, we're talking there. 400 companies for 1,000 kids that are graduating. What's wrong with those numbers? Especially from your standpoint overall. So what are we doing different? Well, first thing I can tell you is this, and a lot of you have seen this, and you're going to keep on seeing it. One of the things we did was we quit just looking and being at the high school graduation level, and that's the only thing I'm concerned with, because I got to tell you, wasn't real happy with what's coming out of high school, to be very honest with you. So the bottom line is that we started taking a very much more systematic approach, more comprehensive. I have full-time staff that do nothing but work with the secondary school systems, and you'll actually see where we've actually integrated ourselves in there. So a much more pipeline type of approach, very comprehensive, trying to affect all entities that in the end affect the end product, which is the students that we prepare for you all. The other thing is very much into the in-school piece, but very much into the out-of-school. It's, again, one of those things, we can't just be focused any longer on the kids that are in secondary schools. We got to bring the dropout, the aged out, the educated out, whatever it is, for whatever reason that people are not working, we got to bring them back into the workforce. It's kind of funny because even the feds here in St. Louis started doing some calculations. 3 million people sort of disappeared that were in work here. How did 3 million people disappear? Well, it doesn't matter how. That means they're out of the norm, but we've got to bring them back into the workforce. So we've got to get that out-of-school group back engaged across the board. But the other thing that's very important about this approach is it's not just about education. The primary hiring credential right now is certifications of some type. If it's Cisco, if you're in IT, it might be AWS if you're into manufacturing and welding. It's NIMS if you're into machining. These are the things that are important, so we make sure that we stack all of these credentials within the educational program. It's not just about getting a degree. I would debate with Tom, and if I bring a kid that's got a bachelor's degree in computer science, or he's got the CCNA and CCNP and all the other, what would he take? And what he would tell you is he'd take the most competent one. And typically, somebody that's had the hands-on education is usually a little bit better about it across the board. I could talk all day just about this, but we'll pull a couple out of just little things out of it. For instance, work-based learning. Almost universally, every one of our programs have some kind of work-based learning into it. Now, whether you call work-based learning apprenticeships, internships, co-ops, I don't really care. You call it whatever you want to, but work-based learning is absolutely the best learning paradigm out there right now. Podium lectures do not do it for the vast majority of kids, but yet if you look at education, that's what we seem to migrate towards, and the reason being is it's economically better. I can put 100 kids into an auditorium as opposed to 10 kids in the shop. If I'm education and I'm trying to run my dollar figures, which one am I going to pick? I'm going to put them in the auditorium every time. Well, that's not necessarily the best thing for a good result as far as we're concerned. So, there's a lot of reasons for apprenticeships. As a matter of fact, 80 to 90% of the industries out there favorite because, again, that's what we used to do in the old days. And I got to tell you, that's what we're going to have to do again in the future as far as we're concerned. Let's see if I got it. One of the things we'll do, and I'll show you a clip, we do the very typical normal apprenticeships. In other words, we train bodies, we send the bodies out to the industries. As a matter of fact, I have 9 apprenticeships that we support. But we send the bodies out to the industries. The industries, then engage the kids and utilize them, train them, that type of stuff. Some of the things that we've done different is that, for instance, I have apprenticeships that go 4 weeks with us, 4 weeks with the industry. I got apprenticeships that go 8 weeks with us, 8 weeks with the industries. And they keep these rotations up. I actually have apprenticeships over 12 states right now. I've got apprenticeships in Texas, California, Illinois, all over the Midwest, and we think that again is the future. But one of the things we figured out was not all the companies like apprenticeships because it's kind of clunky in a way, especially if you're dealing with the Department of Labor, that type of stuff. We understand that. So we did what we called reverse apprenticeships. And a reverse apprenticeship literally is where instead of us sending bodies out to the industries send work to us. And I manufacture and build and provide services for 13 companies on campus. And I'm doing about $5 million a year in production right now. For a college, that's not too shabby overall. These are just some of our companies. And again, it's a wide variety of groups. We do biomedical equipment, communication equipment. We do houses, cars. There's not much that we don't do overall. Let's see. And by the way, that became so popular that what we did was we actually ended up building a manufacturing facility. This is our manufacturing facility. We have 7 companies in here, and each one of the companies, we're doing something for them, including, again, some biomed, communication panels, that type of stuff. Now, the bottom line is, and I missed for some reason I missed my video. I don't know why.
It was on one of the slides. We can go back to it.
It's on one of them?
Yeah, if you want to go back, it.
Yeah. Let's try this. IT, I love it. Okay. There you go.
At Rankin Technical College, our mission is simple. We don't just prepare our students to get jobs. We teach them problem-solving skills and work ethic that they need to build successful careers. Today's manufacturing industry is driven by skilled workers and innovative technology. From robotics to welding and control systems to CNC machining, we focus on hands-on training for the fields that will make up tomorrow's workforce. And at Rankin, we're constantly working with the industry to make sure that we're giving our students the most effective training possible.
I have friends that went straight from high school into the workforce, and I know that by going to Rankin, I'll have a better opportunity to advance in the company, because here I know I get the best training on the equipment, and I get to learn from people who have spent their lives in the industry.
We've structured our advanced manufacturing program to give students the opportunity to earn what they learn with internships at top manufacturers.
In the advanced manufacturing program, we learn in the classroom from knowledgeable teachers who want to see me succeed, and I get hands-on experience in the shop, and then I get to use those skills in the real world through the internship program.
My time here at Rankin and the time that I've spent on my internships have really prepared me for the workforce by really presenting me with the challenges that I'm going to face in the industry.
Alternating between 8 weeks at Rankin and 8 weeks of their internships, our students have the opportunity to apply what they learned in the classroom at the shop to a real-world job setting.
From the first day that I stepped out of this door and I went to work at a machine shop outside of Rankin, I was picking up calipers, I was checking parts, I was making parts, I was running machines. So pretty much every aspect that I learned from Rankin, I was applying the first day.
The employers who participate in our internship program get to start early in training their future workforce. Our manufacturing internship program has successfully matched many Rankin students with employers who are looking for the perfect mix of skills, experience, and professionalism.
For us, it's getting from receipt of order to delivery of first order faster, having the right people that can walk up to the machine and play well with others. That's critical.
Our employer partners also benefit from an ongoing pipeline of top-notch interns who are teachable, knowledgeable, and ready to start their career as soon as they graduate from Rankin.
In the time Rankin has been here, we've had 11 interns. 7 of those work for us right now. 5 of them are permanent employees. 2 of them have transitioned to our NC program department. They've had a big impact.
That's why manufacturers compete to recruit Rankin Manufacturing School students. Employers know that every Rankin student has the hands-on experience and technological expertise they need to succeed.
We benefit tremendously because we end up having skilled people.
It's a good feeling to know that people want me to be skilled and want me to have a better look at this industry because it's always changing and it's always growing.
Are you ready to learn more about the opportunities offered through Rankin's manufacturing programs? Contact us today.
So not only does it give you a better trained individual, but I also will tell you there's another little nuance in there that's very important, especially to you all. So automotive is one of my bigger apprenticeship programs. I have over 350 automotive apprentices spread over 12 states. And if you take a look at them, the bottom line is this. We've had 100% placement between sponsoree and sponsorer. And it's because of that relationship that began building very early on in their career. To have 100% of our kids to transition to the group that helped them train means that long term, they're more likely to stay there. It came from the military, as Tom pointed out. We used to have a saying in recruiting that if I could keep the kid beyond 2 years, exponentially more likely to stay in the military the rest of their life. And it's the same whether it's the military or whether it's you all. If you can get them beyond that 2-year mark, especially if you're assisting them, helping them, and shaping their career, mentoring, guiding them, they're going to stay with you long term. That's again a different nuance than before, the idea of just going out and recruiting and hoping that you get the right piece. You guys are actively involved in helping create that piece, and that's going to make for a better workforce long term for you all. So the whole idea of what we're getting from the secondary school systems, I got to tell you, we're not real satisfied with it, at the college level, and that's all colleges across the board. I will tell you this: almost 50% of the kids that come to us with a high school diploma do not read and write and do mathematics at grade level. That's with a diploma. Now, take that and multiply it out, think about the dropouts, that type of stuff. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, I read a statistic right before I came in. Only one third of all the fourth graders in the U.S., and again, this is not just St. Louis, only 1/3 of all of the fourth graders in the U.S. read at fourth grade level. And that's before the pandemic. What does that do for your next workforce? If the fourth graders can't read at fourth grade level now, where are they going to be at in 5, 6, 7, 8 years? It's scary out there, guys. So one of the things that we did was we decided we needed to get in earlier. As I said, we started at the 6th grade, but at the high school level, what we did was we developed what we call early college. And so Tuesday, we just cut the ribbon on this building. It's an $8 million facility. It's in Troy, Missouri. And it's got all kinds of neat bells, whistles, and toys. I mean, we're doing robotics, automation, precision machining, metal fabrication. We've got an energy program out there, solar, wind, that type of stuff. I just got done talking with a hydrogen company. We see this as the next generation. We got an aquaponics lab out there. So, the ag tech thing is very big. It's one of the larger industries in the U.S. right now, but it's also one of the ones that is most ignored as far as we're concerned. So all of this is neat, all good stuff. What makes it really interesting is the fact that it is integrated at the high school, 100%. literally these kids start, at the ninth grade, start transitioning towards our structure as far as academics go. By the time they get in the 11th grade, they're with us half-time. By the 12th grade, the high school student belongs to me. He's no longer, quote, a high school student per se, other than the fact that it shows up in the high school roles. But he's with my school 100% of the time in 12th grade. If that student stays with me for 1 year out of to traditional high school, grade 13, they'll have their associate's degree as well as all of the pertinent certifications. They will have done an apprenticeship in some way, shape, or form, and they will have any and all of the certifications that go with that. So the bottom line is, grade 13, we've accelerated them, they're at their associate's degree. If they stay with me for 1 more year, grade 14, 2 years out of high school, I'll give them a bachelor's degree. We think accelerating that workforce is absolutely essential for you all, but it's also the idea of getting them involved early with the apprenticeships, that type of stuff. This has been very well supported by the Department of Commerce and a few other people. We're actually opening up another one in Asheville, Missouri, and that's about another year down the road. So it's a reality. We think it's the future of technical education, but it's the whole idea of actually starting early, going long, and getting these kids involved in these career pathways. Again, one of the things, and somebody mentioned it to me before while we were networking, counselors. If I'm a counselor, what am I going to counsel you? I'm going to tell you what I know. I know, go to a 4-year college. I had a great career. I'm having a great career. This is what I know. Tell me how many counselors that you've ever heard of in your lifetime that said, Johnny, go be a welder. Mary, be an auto mechanic. It doesn't happen. So we need to be in these schools showing these kids what the future of the economy and their careers look like. The thing that I'm going to show you real quick, again, is the idea of moving beyond just, what is the traditional across the board. What we're going to do is we're going to switch out presentations real quick, and I'm going to show you something overall. And as Jason does it, I will tell you this. Several years ago, the St. Louis Partnership, which is both the city and the county, basically petitioned or applied for a grant and got enough funding to basically do a study on the supply chain here, especially in the Department of Defense. So a group called AECOM basically did this supply chain study, and it was a very comprehensive study. I mean, a lot of groups from all over the region participated, universities, industry, everybody, and it basically resulted in what was called the RAMP, the Regional Advanced Manufacturing Group, and they basically posted this about 2 years ago. And one of the primary things that came out of this study was, you guys are ripe for a research and development center for advanced manufacturing. And sounded great. As far as we're concerned, it was a good piece. And so it kind of fizzled out a little bit. And then for whatever reason, Dennis Muhlenberger, who again was the ex-CEO of Boeing, picked it up and said, we need this. We need to make this happen. So he became the chairman of the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center board, and he recruited me for whatever reason and said, let's make this happen. So basically, what we did was we started trying to put some real bread and butter to this. Yeah. Me and Jason are trying to coordinate here. Some real bread and butter to this whole project. So what has happened is, over the course of this, is that we basically started filling out what was the AMIC going to look like. And I will tell you this, the AMIC basically is going to be it's actually about 115,000 square feet research and development center that's going to be located on Rankin's campus. Literally, it will encompass not only advanced manufacturing. Is there any way we can go this way a little bit?
Hey, Jason, can you zoom out a little bit?
Yeah, maybe that's. It's going to encompass not only just advanced manufacturing, but it's also going to include the biosciences, automation, energy. There's several areas that, that this thing is going to, there you started it. There you go. Transportation, logistics, aerospace, all of these things are going to be addressed within the center itself. Huge IT presence. It's also going to have an energy presence, as I said. And we're not talking just solar or wind or just, fossil fuels, but we're also talking hydrogen, nuclear, that type of stuff. All of this is pretty much a reality in the fact that, again, because of the economy, because of the Build Back Better, because of the ARPA, the relief funds, we've had a chance to basically petition the Economic Development Administration to put basically $40 million into this project. It's a $53 million project, and we're hoping to actually break ground late next summer. And so this is all very interesting stuff. Basically, as they went through the study, it touches everything. Advanced manufacturing is not just advanced manufacturing. It touches almost every other of the sectors, and we think that this is a very coalescing point for us across the board for the region overall. Some of the things that will be in it, as we said, it's very much into the manufacturing side, but we're talking about the additive manufacturing, robotics, digital labs, biomedical, geospatial. As a matter of fact, in this submission to the EDA, what we've done is we've taken the three primary pillars of this region, which are geospatial, the biosciences, and advanced manufacturing, and proposed a tech triangle very similar to what's in North Carolina as the lead entity for this overall. And as I said, it's right outside my main gate campus, and if you take a look, basically we're just several miles from the Geospatial Center, but we're just several miles from Cortex and the biosciences, so it makes a truly an absolute tech triangle as far as we're concerned. This is some of the views of it. It'll have basically a 500-seat auditorium, high bay research centers, lots and lots of space. Keep going. And it's very much centered around not only the idea of research and development, but it will also have our production manufacturing piece to it across the board. And it will also work on the pipeline development. One of the things that we were pretty adamant about as I went onto the board again, and you just got to hear me say it, number one impediment is workforce. So even if you have all the greatest ideas, the latest and greatest and the cutting edge technology coming out of research and development, if you can't bring it to the market, it's just a good idea. So, we're again going to take the whole pipeline continuum approach across the board. And I will tell you this, we're always looking for visionary partners that would like to be a part of this. And this is, several of the universities are going to join us, WashU, SLU, Mizzou, some other folks. We hope that this will truly become an economic driver for this region overall in a lot of areas. And the one thing that impressed me about Dennis is, as I said, coming from Boeing, they have several international centers very similar to this. Sheffield is probably the most well known. And his statement was this: this is going to beat anything that's out there right now. This is going to be the destination. This is where people are going to want to come when it comes to research and development, especially in advanced manufacturing. And if he said it, he understands it, he knows it, and it's going to happen. So again, we're always looking for partners. Believe me, he does a much better job, and this was just a tag on from the other presentation. But we're always looking for partners, and if you're interested in being a part of this, definitely grab me and give me your card, and we'll make sure that you're well informed and participate in all of the development as it goes forward. With that, I'll shut up for a few minutes and see if there's any Q&A. We've got about 10, 15 minutes. Tom is and as always, we're very cognizant of your time. We don't want to take you over. So questions and answers, and I'll try my best.
You have a presence in North St. Louis, and you have one in Troy, Missouri. that any plans to build any facilities in the southern part of St. Louis County or perhaps the northern part of Jefferson County to try to capture some of those students that?
We actually have sites in Perryville, Ashland, Troy, Winsville, and made a proposal to the state to build 4 others throughout the state. Good thing about the state, you can always depend on them not to reply, so we're just waiting. What I tell everybody, and everybody says, how do you pick where you go? Every one of our sites have been predicated upon a strong partnership with either industry and or with secondary schools, especially with Troy. So, we're always looking for where that next spot is. I will tell you, I'm talking with a group in Denver, Colorado. I'm talking with a group in Chicago. It depends on the industry. So that's our driver. And, if it's there, we'll do our very best to accommodate.
I saw in there that a number of your industries, carpentry, plumbing, et cetera, those tend to be, at least in St. Louis, heavily union.
Mm-hmm.
How do you coordinate? Is there an effort between you and the unions training? Because I know a lot of the unions try to do some training as well.
Yeah.
How's that all fit in and then with the company?
I have 9 apprenticeships, 4 of them are union, 5 of them are non-union. One of the biggest misnomers out there that apprenticeships are always union. That's not true. As a matter of fact, there's actually more non-union apprenticeships than there are union apprenticeships. We try and coordinate with it, and I will tell you this, and everybody kind of cringes when I say this. We're pretty agnostic when it comes to apprenticeships and unions. If my kids join a union, God bless them. They got a job and I'm proud of them. If they join a non-union, they got a job, I'm proud of them. That's an individual type of decision. And, we basically welcome any union that wants to work with us, and we always have and we always will. So, if it happens, it happens. But if it don't, life goes on.
So in St. Louis, when they said an economic representative, they were talking about the metro St. Louis is like 49, kind of lower bottom. Do you see the potential in the future as moving forward? St. Louis, we've had a lot of challenges here in St. Louis. Do you see a positive outlook in St. Louis as
Yeah, what I would tell you guys, the question, is things positive for the St. Louis metropolitan area? And the answer is yeah. I mean, if you take a look at it, the things that made St. Louis great once will make St. Louis great again, as far as we're concerned. If you look at the geographics, if you look at the availability of other, cross-sectional type of industries, that type of stuff, all those key factors are there. I will tell you this again, deal with a lot of potential companies coming in, and again, the number one question, the number one concern, it's not necessarily is there a building, it's not necessarily is there a road. The airport comes up occasionally. The number one question always is there a workforce? And again, when we grasp that and when we figure that out, and that becomes a priority for this region, we're unstoppable as far as I'm concerned, because those other factors are always there. But we've got to get our hands around this. We really do.
I'm trying to quantify Rankin's contribution to the workforce. You said earlier there are about 1,000 graduates a year. Yep. What's the breakdown between precision machining, construction, automotive, by percentage, roughly? Is it a third in machining manufacturing? Or?
Nah, what I would say is we have 5 core divisions. Our divisions are automotive, IT, machining or advanced manufacturing, electrical, and one other one, I forgot what it is. If you look at them, honest and truly, you guys are going to laugh, but my biggest is automotive. I'm the Midwest trainer for Ford, GM, Toyota, Honda, Chrysler, Nissan, Subaru, and Hyundai. And I have, like I said, I have 350 apprentices all over the Midwest. So, again, it's how the groups engage across the board. and it's a little bit different. If I had to, advanced manufacturing is probably 15%, 20%, something like that. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we could always use more. And the other thing, always looking for partners, always looking for students, believe me.
Stan, what's your industry doing to bring more women into the workforce?
Well, it's kind of funny because if you take a look at, the areas that we just named, which are construction, machining, things like that, the average, across the sector throughout the world is somewhere between 3 and 6% are females. So now if you think about it, we're about to lose about half our workforce. And if only 3% are right now women are going to have to be more engaged. It's not would I like it or anything like that. Statistically, females are going to have to start taking on a lot of these what were considered non-traditional jobs. And that's the future as far as we're concerned. Several of the programs that we set up are very specifically aimed at trying to recruit more females into it. But I will also tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10, we have a standing joke, which is we have to do 2 sales jobs. One, I got to go sell the kid. And then guess who I got to go sell? The kid's parents. Because most of the kids' parents and grandparents are baby boomers, and baby boomers don't want their granddaughter or daughter to be a welder or an electrician or a construction person. So we've got to actually change the entire as far as this type of thing. And yes, more females are absolutely required, not wanted, required to get into these jobs. It's got to happen. If not, you guys might as well shut your door, as far as we're concerned.
You mentioned earlier that the goal is to try to get you through that first 2 years.
Yep.
And if you get through the first 2 years, then they'll probably hang in there for the long haul. Do you guys track the students that you place with these particular organizations, and do you know how long they tend to stay with the companies they initially start out with?
Typically, we allow the companies to do that. What we do is we offer full-time placement for all our students for lifetime. And so the only time that we interact with the student after they've left and been placed is typically when they're trying to find another job or a different job. So it's by exception rather than by rule. So no, that's not typically been one of our things. And I say this a lot of times to the industries, especially with the apprenticeship programs that we set up. My job is to bring to you a graduated, well-trained student. Your job is to keep them. Now, there's a lot of gray area in there, but retention is just as important as recruiting. I got to tell you, how many of y'all have heard that there's a truck driver shortage? How many of you heard that? There's 80,000 jobs or something like that, or I got news for you. There's not really a shortage. You know what it is? You know what the turnover rate for truck drivers is? 94%. That's why there's a shortage. It's not because there's not necessarily enough truck drivers. It's because it's a passive career. We've got to change that somehow. And when I say we, it's not just us, but it's you all. But that's one of the things that we've got to deal with is the long-term retention. And again, that's part of this idea of boomers used to stay forever. Well, this generation's not, and so we've got to grasp that and figure that out and figure out how to make the best of that situation.
What innovations on the company side, on the boomer generation, have you made, or innovations to retain these employees? We're adapting the workforce to fit a model. How is the workforce needing to adapt to fit the candidate as well?
Well, again, some of the are going to be different, and if you look at how we're doing this thing, one of the things I will tell you is, for instance, the industries again used to stand at the end of the pipeline, and when I say the end of the pipeline, in most cases it's education, and they would pick and choose if they came out and keep the good ones, and the other would pass on that type of stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. What we need is for industry to be absolutely integrated and part of it from the very beginning. Again, the whole idea of my automotive apprenticeships is that these companies are actually part of the training. As a matter of fact, 45% of the training in the automotive curriculums are done at the dealerships. It's not done in my classroom. It's done by the dealerships. So that actual integration is absolutely a piece of it. You get a better trained person, but you get a relationship, you get a retention factor. There's a lot of good things that brings across. You know, being part of the solution is an absolute necessity for the industries of the future as far as we're concerned. And that's probably the biggest difference. You know, it's not that you guys are at the end feeding on this, it is that you're part of it. And the good thing I like to tell, especially my automotive industries, is this. You know, if you've been actively involved in training that kid for 2 years, which is the duration that this type of apprenticeship has been going on, if you have been actively involved, 50% of the training you guys have done, and you don't like the product at the end of the 2 years, guess what? Shame on you, because you were part of it. You know, so that type of actual integration is absolutely essential as far as we're concerned. And that's probably the biggest factor in itself. How you play in your next generation workforce.
Going at the national level, is there a national organization of similar schools like ranking that are working together on these initiatives?
There's 2 or 3. I actually have 6 peer schools that I deal with, and the funny thing about it is they're all private, and that's a great thing. One of the things that we love to tout with ranking is the fact that we are private, and what that does is it allows me to adapt, adjust, accommodate my industry partners, and as long as I'm continuing to do that and produce, we're good. So I've got 6 schools that I kind of stay loosely affiliated with. We're not a actual organization or anything like that, but we're on our speed dials and we kind of talk to each other on a regular basis.
So, Missouri Training Alliance, Missouri Training Alliance, I think they were open for a while, with basically free education. They work with Rankin. Most importantly, how are some of the kids who can't afford Rankin? Are there certain like scholarship programs?
Well, what I will tell you is this: if you take a look at education in general, you cannot afford not to afford it. But I will also tell you, one of the reasons that we love the work-based learning is this. For instance, my automotive kids, by the 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off, the 8 weeks that they're on, they're actually being paid, and they're making about $14,000 a year while they are completing their education. So the bottom line is, if somebody tells you they can't afford to go to school, they haven't looked at it in the right way and or the right type of thing. But I will also tell you, for instance, we have a educational scholarship account system, and we call it Learn to Earn, and it's proactive scholarship. And what it does is this: in the old days, or in the past, if you wanted to get a scholarship when you got out of high school, you waited till your senior year, you applied for all these scholarships, and you hope that these educational entities would give you a scholarship. What we've done is, from the 6th grade all the way through 12th grade, kids that participate in activities that are conducive to leading them to careers. And there's a wide variety of them out there. There's Lego leagues, and there's all kinds of local stuff that lead kids to careers in especially STEM activities. Over that 6 years, they can basically accumulate scholarship credit up to $10,000. So if you take that $10,000, you take $7,000 that the federal government will give you for Pell Grant. By the way, 65% of my kids are low income, disadvantaged, and are eligible for Pell Grant. 88% of them get some type of financial aid. And then you tag on the fact that they're making $12,000, $14,000 a year while they are working and doing their education. There is absolutely no financial reason why any kid should not have a good career. So, again, finances is kind of one of those, I can't afford to go to school. Now, what that means is you don't want to go to school, you don't want to investigate all the opportunities. So, send them to us, we'll get them through school. That's not an issue. What else? I got 1 minute, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan. Very much appreciated. And thank you for that round of applause. I appreciate that as well. Okay, we're going to get a group picture here for social media. So if you're a wanted criminal and you don't want to show up on social media, maybe duck your head. But everybody smile for the camera, please. We're going to try to get as many of you as we can into the picture. Some of you out on the outskirts might not make it. All right, great. And then Stan, we had a couple requests on the stream for the slides. Would that be okay?
Yeah,
If we do that? Okay.
Posting that, that's all regardless.
Great, thank you. So if you send an email to mmlgroup.org, events@mmlgroup.org. Interested in the soft sides of those. So our next event is January 14th. So hard to believe we're a couple weeks from Thanksgiving and almost to Christmas and almost to 2022. But our next, other than that, if you could throw your trash away and recycle, we would really appreciate it. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend. It's gonna be a little cooler this weekend for about a week here, so enjoy yourselves and thank you all for being here. Much appreciated.